Hello, welcome to my channel Visa Talks with K. Yes, so if you're new to this channel, you're welcome. This channel is here for you to give you information on how to do it yourself for all types of visa application. So kindly subscribe, kindly like, kindly share the information as far and wide among your contacts. Yes, so today we'll be talking about, as you can see on the screen, the Malta Study Visa Checklist. So I'll be explaining quite some areas. Some of the requirements are self-explanatory, but I'll be giving you shedding more light on some other requirements that you may need clarification on. So let's quickly begin. Yes, so the first thing on the checklist is the fully filled visa application form signed by the applicant. I've checked that visa application form. It's quite recent. It's quite what's it called? It's quite easy to fill. There are no ambiguous documents or statements on that form. So once you go through it, you can actually get to know, once you see it, it's easy to fill, so basically. Then if you need information or if you need support on that, you can drop me comments in the comment section. I'll be open to support you in filling that form. Better still, if I have a handful of requests, then I can make a video out of that so that it becomes easy for you to reference, when filling the form. So ensure you fill the form well. Ensure you also sign as the applicant. Like, I don't know if I had mentioned before, but this checklist is quite recent. It was released by Malta Identity in June this year, 2024. So it's a good thing you're watching this video because you're getting recent information, basically. Yeah. So after sorted out your visa application form, you need your international passport, of course, is your travel document, which you'll be submitting alongside your application. So the passport needs to be valid for the period of your stay in Malta. Then the third thing as required is the one passport size photograph that meets the ICAO standard. So what does the ICAO standard say, particularly for passport photograph? So it specifies that passport photos must meet a measure of 35 mm in width and 45 mm in height, right? So if you meet that standard, then that falls into the ICAO standards. And of course, basically, it has to be on a white background, and there has to be recent 6 months passport photo. Then you proceed to the fourth, which is the school enrollment letter, of course, as requested by Malta Identity. It has to read details of your course, duration of your course, hours of your course per week, and the proof of payment, right? So basically, the school enrollment letter can also serve as your admission letter, right, which validates that you are a student that have been accepted to study a particular program within that school, right? So, but aside that, you need to also provide, requested the proof of payment. So your tuition fee that you've paid, cost of accommodation, other sundry costs attached to your studentship in the school. You need to provide that as an evidence. Then the number 5 item, which is the bank statement, is where I'll be talking more on, because the requirements here are very short, but there are bigger things you need to attach to your bank statement. So if you're a self-sponsored applicant, yes, of course, the bank statement for the last 3 months. But you're not just only submitting your bank statement as a self-sponsored applicant. You need to also submit the evidence of the source of those funds, right? It's very important. So if you're a student, if you're a worker, rather, if you're working in your home country, then you need to provide evidence that you've been working, right, to get that money in your account. That would be your sponsorship. That will use as your self-sponsorship to the program. So letters of employment, pay slips, and work ID cards, things that would validate that you're the worker. But if you, for instance, you're a business person, then of course, business registration certificate, business invoices, receipts, and other contractual letters or agreements that you have with clients. That would validate your source of funds as a business person. Then, for instance, maybe you sold properties to get the money in your personal account, then evidence of property sales and what have you. So ensure that you add documentary evidences that would support your source of funds in your personal account if you're a self-sponsored person. But if you're being sponsored by a third party, of course, sponsor's bank statement, signed sponsorship letter from your sponsor, copy of your sponsor's identity card or document, then of course the bank statement, the bank card of your sponsor, which has to be from the same bank statement that he or she is submitting on your behalf, right? So basically, let me dive into this. So for the sponsorship letter, I have a template. If you want, I can share with you, but again, these are just templates, right? So you can get it and adjust it to fit into what you want, basically. But I have a template and I can share. If you need, as usual, drop your comments in the comment section. I will skim through them and send you how you can get that information. Then copy of your sponsor's identity card or document. Could be his driver's license, could be a national ID card, front and back. But if you're using his international passport, then just the passport data page would validate that part, as requested by the Malta Identity. But ensure that the reason why you're submitting the identification document is just one to validate the name and to validate the signature, because the sponsor will be signing the sponsorship letter, right? So you need to ensure that the signature matches what is on this on the so his details, basically the name, and his signature matches what is on the sponsorship letter. So because that would automatically validate the sponsorship letter. Other thing I can advise also is aside also submitting a plain sponsorship letter just signed by your sponsor, it's good that if you can get an affidavit of sponsorship, which is a legal document that can back up that letter, will be perfect. Will be perfect thing. Or if you can't get that in your home country, you can get a notary stamp, to just stamp on that sponsorship letter provided by your sponsor. That would go a long way in making your documentation very strong, right? And of course, for the bank statement, for the bank card, if you're concerned about the funds on your bank account when you're submitting the bank card, because you're going to submit front and back, right? You can put a no debit order on the bank statement. You can advise your sponsor to do that, so that on your bank account, you can advise the sponsor to do that, so that there are no unnecessary charges placed, based off of the fact that you submitted this to the embassy. So yeah, so we'll proceed to the medical insurance, which of course could be medical and travel insurance, which has been valid for 6 months, valid for the whole Schengen area, minimum coverage of €30,000, covering a minimum duration of 120 consecutive days, must be valid for study purpose, must be in English. So this is very clear. There are no ambiguity in this. So just ensure that you get a travel insurance company that has that meets the standards, and usually they are stated on the terms and conditions of the travel insurance. So you ensure that all these things are actually stated when you buy the insurance cover. And of course, the full passport copy, which has a minimum validity of 8 months. So this is your passport, international passport, what's called international passport booklet, which must be valid within a minimum period of 8 months, right? But it's good that you have, like I mentioned before, valid all through your program year, so that you don't have issues, applying for new passports and trying to change your passport, to a new one. It could be quite taxing, but ensure that you, at least, if you can't meet that earlier idea I shared, which is trying to meet up for the old duration of your stay, ensure that you meet at least the minimum 8 months as required by Identita Malta. Yes, also the eighth item on the list is the flight ticket details, which should cover 2 weeks max prior to the commencement of your program, right? And it should, if your course is longer than 6 months, return ticket following the end of the course is not required, and it should be dated between 4 to 6 weeks from the date of the submission of application. So this is quite also a new thing for Malta. So basically, you need to provide a flight ticket, not a flight reservation. So usually for for travels, you use flight reservations, right? But specifically, you need to provide a flight ticket, which of course is more like you're purchasing the cost of your flight ticket even before the issuance of visa, right? You can see that it's quite different from other countries, but this is what is requested for right now, and that's to meet all these requirements. So what I can do, again, that's why you're watching this video, is to advise you based off of experience. You can get travel companies that issue dummy tickets, their actual tickets that are kept on the system, but you pay a lesser fee, to get that out. So that would at least give you ample time to get in when your visa is issued. So maybe your visa is issued, then you can now pay the balance, so that so that the cost does not actually hit hard on you. And again, just you preventing the risks of what if you don't get the visa, how do you get your refunds back? So that's one option. Then if you think of you have the funds, then you can go for a refundable ticket, right? So even when you don't get the visa, they can actually, the airline company can issue you your money back, subject to whatever policy they have for refund, right? So you can try both ways, for that purpose. Then of course, for your accommodation for the first 14 nights, right? So you might not necessarily need to show proof of accommodation for the whole stay, right? But for the first 14 nights, but I advise you really, if I mean, to show that you are ready to go in, you need to do more than that, basically. So, but if you don't have enough funds, you need to have good what's it called, reservations that covers for the 14 nights, and of course must be in your name. If the application, if the accommodation is provided by the school, then you need a letter, providing, confirming that you are confirming that, I mean, they are providing the accommodation, and you probably pay some fees, to reserve that accommodation. And of course, in case of minor applications, that the following documents are required: birth certificate, a copy of the parents' passport, and parents' consent letter, of course, I mean, legalized and translated in English. If it's not in English already, if it's not written in English, then there are the visa fees which you need to pay at the submission center. So basically, I mean, if you're below 6 years, it's free. 6 years and 12 years, €50, and if you're 6 years, 12 years above, it's €100. Then extended fee, same applies. So 120, €150 in Nigeria. But so all these documents must be submitted in English, basically. Yeah. So that's it. So basically, for the visa checklist, these are the things they require, but you need to go beyond this, right? You need to show further proof. So for instance, even for the sponsorship letter, I forgot to mention, you need to also show proof of relationship with your sponsor. It's not listed on the checklist, but you need to show them. You need to show how your sponsor is related to you. Is it by birth certificate? Is it by family documents? Something that will prove relationship. You need to attach it to your documentation if you're using a sponsor. I think that's quite important. Then also you need to also, of course, attach documents that will show that you have home ties. So if, for instance, you've been working, I mean, you're currently working, then you need to prove that you have home ties, right? You need to provide documents to show that you have something that will bring you back home. That's very important. That's very, very important. So showing proof of home ties is also an added document that is not here, but because you're watching this video, then you've known, so that you don't just look at only this list and go submit. You need to do more to ensure that they won't see you as a potential uh, jumper, and if I can use that word, that you want to use Malta as a transit point to the Schengen area. So that's very important. So if you have other clarifications that you need to know, you need to ask me on this particular checklist, feel free to reach out, feel free to write me. I'll be very open to responding to the questions, and as much as I can and as much as I know, with my experience on the Malta student visa processes. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for watching till this moment. If you like this video, please kindly subscribe to our channel. Please kindly share. Please kindly also spread the word to people that would need this kind of information. Thank you, and look out for your engagement in my next informative video. Thank you, and bye-bye.